Rob, welcome back. Good to have you with us. It's been a busy few weeks, I'm sure, for you too, even though you've been back in America. Let's start off with the decision to remove Noel as first team manager. When did that all start? What was the process?
Well, truthfully, everybody is constantly being evaluated. And for us, Noel and I was over here 2 weeks ago. It seems like a month and a half ago. And we sat down and we went through where we were on a Sunday afternoon. We had a pretty good understanding. I thought that we needed to increase the level of performance, the way we were playing. I didn't claim to be an expert on how he should play, but what I was looking for was a certain intensity and a certain result. It's a results business, as Noel admitted to me. And then when we had the result that we did, it was just obvious to me that the time had come. I dwelled on it all that Saturday night. I called Joe Sunday morning. I asked his thoughts. He concurred with me. It was my decision. I called Todd and I called Rick. I told them what was going on. Nobody objected. I called Noel. He and I had, and I would have preferred to have been here, but I had just gotten off the plane practically back to the States. We had a good conversation. He's an honorable guy. He's given his life for this club. He's got a great future as a manager. But you know, sometimes in organizations, you need to change direction, and you can't change out everybody underneath. You have to change out the person at the top who's responsible for that aspect. And so it was a tough decision, but it was one that I stand by and I thought it had to be made.
Was it more difficult because a few weeks previously you'd publicly backed him at the fans forum as well?
Well, I publicly back him today. I mean, he's going to be a great manager for somebody else. No, look, I think the fans and I are starting to understand each other. I tell them what I feel at that moment. I'm not a calculated guy of let me say this so that they'll say that. When I was asked the question, I thought Noel and the club had a chance of beginning to really turn it around. I was over here. I watched a lot of football. I watched a lot of football back in the States. And I had a lot of conversations with Noel, with others. And yeah, the decision ultimately was one that became obvious to me, is the best way of describing it. Not any sort of joy in it, not that I expected instant results from it, but yeah, it was time.
Noel had frustrations about the transfer window. He spoke to me regularly about the need for more bodies to come through. He's echoed those thoughts since he's been removed from his job. What's your take on that?
Well, you know, we'll both look at it differently. I can't think of a player he brought to us that we did not go after, and nobody that turned us down because of what we offered. Certainly, I haven't heard that. I know that our budget's in the top 6 or 7 in the league. I know that for spending, that's where we are. I know that we didn't get there easily because we were given a preset budget by the league that would not have allowed us to be in the top 10. And we had to go back and re-argue the budget. And then Todd and I put in a substantial amount of money such that any new money we put in, we were only getting 50% credit for. So it wasn't a question of that. I think that, look, and I know people say, well, he promised a spectacular transfer window. I think if they go back, I said, well, we have the potential for a transfer window that's spectacular. I'm going to still stick with that. Find me somebody who signed a better midfielder than Lewis Wing. Find me somebody who signed a better goalie than Joel. Find me somebody who's a better defender than Party. Now, those 3 guys in the prior 4 years hadn't missed a game from injury. So it's nobody's fault, but we lose time. Party's barely played in the first quarter of the season. You know, we went out and got Derek. Nobody was looking for us to go to America and pick him up. We got Jack Marriott. Has somebody done a better signing of a striker than Jack Marriott? I don't think so. We got Matt Ritchie, who's, I think, superb. So we put those. And then we have the other guys, kids who I think are developing well. People disagree with me on some of them. That's fine. And look, the results are the results. And nobody's more disappointed in the results than me, except maybe the players themselves. And, you know, it's what I think sometimes people forget. So much goes into winning. You know, are you a cohesive unit? Did you have a chance to really organize yourself during the summer? When we started, and this sounds like an excuse, it's more of an explanation, we only had 6 kids under contract. We signed them when they became available. We signed Jack Marriott the day he became available. We signed Matt the day he became available. We signed others when they became available. We were constantly looking. I think Brian and Jackson did a good job at that, and Noel did, to be candid. Noel, when he would see these guys, would say it. But the fact is, I mean, we didn't get some of these guys until the season was well underway. What you lack then is the ability of the squad as a whole to train. One of the things that's been disappointing is the match fitness for some of the kids, some of the boys. And it's because of injuries, or it's because they didn't have a full summer, or it's because they haven't worked together, but we're going to get past it. It's not an excuse. We are where we are. I still, of course, you know me, people talk about a glass half full. I think that glass is practically brimming over because we've got the talent to succeed. Will we bring in people? Yeah. One of the things I'm not going to get engaged in, I don't think, going forward, is this discussion of who should we bring in, when should we bring him in, and the like. I've got somebody in Liam I trust who's going to help us build a squad that's going to compete to get to the championship. I'm not discounting it for this year. I know people think I'm crazy, but that's people have it's a kind of weird conundrum. I have a tendency to overestimate because I'm optimistic, and people have a tendency to underestimate because they assume he's overly optimistic. I think we'll find the truth. What is it you taught me a long time ago? The table never lies. And right now, the table is what it is. Let's see where it is in January.
You said something earlier on in this interview about fans getting to know you a bit better. I think when you started at the window, a lot of them saw that optimism and believed it in terms of like, this is what's going to happen from day one. Do you regret that, or do you think that's going to play out?
No, I think it's going to play out. And how can I regret being optimistic? What am I supposed to do? Oh my God, we took over a team that's going to fail? Oh my God, we're doing terrible? No, I mean, look, it's a sport. We're going to make ourselves better. And I know my history. When we had a baseball team, we were among the top 5 in America because we went and found the right people to associate with. When we had our former soccer team or football team, we gave them the best 5 years in their 135-year history. We're going to give these folks what they want and what they deserve. And, you know, the only thing that ever frustrates me is that and this is where some of the guys in the media in cohorts with the former owners or some of the hangers-on for the owners have gone to try and slander us by saying, oh, they don't spend enough money or they don't have enough money. Our budget's, as I say, between 6th and 8th in the league. Our average salary's 6th and 8th in the league. Our income is there thanks to Todd and me. We're going to do what's necessary. We've never not done what was necessary anywhere. Now, they also get a little annoyed because we plan so many other things. We're trying to move the store, and we've done that now. We went deep into our pockets because our friends at Fanatics didn't just say, oh, take the deal. We had to pay them off. We're changing out our relationship on our website, as you know, and that's not free. We're moving into a way where it's easier for people to follow the games. That's not free. People will understand that we're here for the long run, how we build it.
Let's move on to the new manager.
Yep.
We've covered off the process of creating that vacancy. Talk me through the process of filling that vacancy. Why Liam, and when did that start?
Well, I met Liam back when he was with Wigan, and I was with Wickham, and we were in Bolton, and there was no reason for him to be there except he was pushing to get promoted. He was there on his own nickel to go and look at both Bolton and Wickham because he had games coming in with him. I saw in him a guy who's a hard worker, a smart thinker, who understands the game. We've kept in semi-contact since then. I watched him get that team promoted. I've watched what's happened in his career. Look, the deal at Wigan ended up like a lot of people who get promoted and then they go. And the deal at Rotherham, if he had called me and asked me if he should take the job, I would have said no because of their history, as you know, of going up and down. So we've kept in contact. When Joe and I began to think a year ago, who would we have come in? He was always on that sort of short list. We had 2 or 3 others. Obviously, once the decision was made that we would replace Noel, we had had some interim discussions over the preceding weeks with these 3 or 4 people, and we knew which way to go. What I was looking for is somebody who understands the game. Obviously, Noel does that. But somebody who can put a different sort of cast. Noel has been here forever. Liam walks through the door, and he's a new guy, and there's going to be a certain edge, I suspect, to it. The players are going to respond to him differently, hopefully for the better than they would have. He's going to make different decisions about these, and I'm not faulting Noel on this. We all get used to evaluating people that we've known the same way. How do you get a fresh look at them? And that's what I was looking for. Maybe we didn't recruit the best class this year. Maybe we need to change. I personally like the guys, and I think they're trying hard, and we just need to bring it together, but I could be wrong. So I wanted that fresh, tough look. I think the mistake that I made is that, and for those who know me, I usually go into a new organization and we decimate the top because we want to put in our philosophy, which is you got to be smart, you got to be strong, you can't be afraid to make hard decisions, and there's a certain edge that's required to winning. And I think it was so much of a relief to finally get the club after fighting for it for a year and a half. We got it so late in that we really inherited people, and they were all great people. That made it harder. If 1 or 2 of them had been jerks, it would have been easy, but none of them were that. So there's a tendency to go along. And so we never really got into inculcate our philosophy, which is you're a professional, you're being paid to be a professional, which means you show up, you go to work, and you work hard. And I'm not saying they didn't under Noel, but I am confident that under this new crew, there will be a certain drive to it.
It is a crew as well because James, Danny, and now Rob. It's a larger backroom staff as well because only one of the coaches went along with Noel. So it's a bigger backroom staff. What's the thinking there?
What do we need to turn it around? And these are people that Liam's comfortable with. And of course, we kept Michael, who's going to help and turn it around, and Jackson. And look, things are working. I guess it gets into my sort of pet peeve. For those who think that, we're somehow, penny pinching the deal, we're not. We're doing things that are necessary to get done. Now, I am never going to change my philosophy that what you're more interested in doing is spending money on long-term improvement than you are on short-term fixes. And so for me, bringing in a brand new coaching staff that's going to have a new attitude is a long-term improvement.
And I guess, is there frustration as well with the questioning about the level of money? I guess the short-term memory issue with this, because overspending, everyone remembers what happens when that takes place.
Well, and nobody ever defines anything. They've started this, and the local BBC guy started it by echoing the words of the former owner's people of Rob didn't have the money, or he was what was the term they used, chipping away or whatever, and it's just stupid. Absolutely stupid. So when these people go on their little social media rants about the club not spending money, ask them one time, what player didn't we get? What did we offer that player? How much should we have paid for him? But no, it's easy to go in and just rant and rave about things you don't know a thing about, because now we can all ride the same sort of hype wave of, well, the problem is they didn't spend enough money.
What brings you back over for this trip? 'Cause it's not just to catch up with the new staff and catch some games.
No, but first I did want to make sure that Liam and the staff knew their way around, knew everybody, and that everybody here recognized they have my total support. We're still arguing with the seller over some items that were set aside at the time of sale as to how much we're going to pay or they're going to pay us, and we're going to deal with that in a mediation. This week, I'm going to meet with the lawyers about the Mbinge tribunal to see where we're going to go with that. It's interesting. We rejected, and for all these people to say, oh, they do anything for money, we in every case, Harvey's case, Harvey came to us with a rational deal. We supported him. The young fellas wanted to go elsewhere. We talked with Nolan and them. It was better for the young guys and better for the club that they went. In Mbinge, we did not want to leave. We said no. And they made us an offer, and we turned it down, because there you have one of the best center backs, and they're going to take him right out of the heart of our club. They're going to put him in QPR, where how's he doing? Fantastic. How much is that worth? And we knew it, and we told him that. And so, yeah, we're going to have a little tribunal about that. One of the things I always feel pretty good about us, and people say, he's a lawyer, is, yeah, I'm a lawyer.
So both of those things are connected to my final question, because January is coming, and we all get excited about Christmas, but football fans will be excited about the opening of the transfer window. And obviously you've explained the SCMP with Joe and how that works. Will these things be resolved in time for January, and what can fans and Liam, more importantly, expect in January?
Well, here's a surprise. Liam met me at the door as I walked in, and we will have what's necessary for him.
He had his Christmas list.
He didn't have the list completed yet, but I got a feeling that he's in the back with the elves working on it.
Well, good luck this week.
Thank you.